Hello and welcome to the Faith Building Podcast, episode 40, with your lovely and amazing host, Vladi, Kuna.
And Norman Gräter. Hi.
Hi, guys. Today's topic is partly about vision, because we all should have visions, dreams, things that pull us out of our daily life and keep us stuck to something where we want to be in the future. And we want to slide into that by asking the most important question, because as we all know, we should stay in the study. And as our mentor Bob Proctor always said, studying ends when the wooden casket closes. This means we are constant learners, and not only teachers, we also study ourselves. So my question to kick it off with, Vladi, what are you working on right now? What are you reading? Is there any quote, any sentence that stood out in the last couple of hours or days for you? Share with us what's on your mind.
Oh, it's funny because I usually over summer, I usually go away with the kids for a month. I'm still working, but I'm kind of working. And that's the reevaluation time for me. So I always kind of look back, like Steve Jobs said, you can only connect the dots looking backwards, not forward. And then I kind of like to reset. As many people always start with living from January and, making plans from January and having the New Year's Times resolution. For me, the massive block of start actually starts in September. Energetically, I feel more aligned with it. So I like to revalue everything in August and look back to what am I doing that is really working? What am I doing and spending quite a lot of time on it, but it's not really bringing any results. And I think this is really important to revalue. And what are the steps forward? Are my goals the ones I'm really aligned with? Meaning, am I the one with them? Having a goal for our life is not about the goal. It's really who you become in a process of achieving that goal. That is more important. Who you become better, greater version of yourself. But I do like Norman's questions because studying is my life. My goal is to master my mind and help others to do the same. So for me, studying and understanding and experiencing it and implementing it is a huge part. So I'm pretty disciplined, so I study a lot. And right now, this is my very favorite book. Never read it before. This is the first time. I'm not even finished. So it's called The Principles and Power of Vision by Miles Monroe. I have to learn. Like when you read the books like Power of Awareness, which we read 100 times with Norman, then you remember it. But that book is truly great. Why? Because for Faith Building Podcast, it's also talking a lot about God. And God, in a sense, remember, if God is not your thing, it's the universe and higher power. It doesn't matter. But in energy, there is always a higher power. So if you think about what are the things you're doing, are they coming from, and we're going back to, are they coming from your higher self, the best version of you, or the ego self? The ego self would be indicating or really bringing you down to do things as society wants them, if somebody else wants them. But who are you? I love this when Bob asked us these questions. Who are you? Like, are you inclined to answer, I'm Vladi, I'm 44 years old and I'm the coach and, mind, elite mind, vision, blah, blah, blah. All these names we give ourselves. But go beyond that. Who are you really? You're a spiritual being having a human experience. And we deviate from this amazing life because of the ego-driven parts. It's the society expects us to do something. I think the most important thing in an entire world for your kids, and I'm going to say that because many of us already, it's harder to reprogram ourselves, but it's not impossible. And I'd like to encourage, there is no one on this planet who can't change. It's whether you would love to change. So vision is a huge part, because if you're living in your imagination, which is the most important thing, if you can do it in your imagination, you can live it in your real life. But really, I'm going to say study is one of the most things, but implementing it. Don't just read it and put it in a shelf. Don't have it shelf help. It has to be self-help. Self-help means not ticking off reading 100 books and not really living them. It's about what aligns with you, and study. Like, read. I read this page this morning. I had a coffee, took it in the garden, read it 10 times. Why? I just been drawn to read it over and over, and it talks about 5 specific ways God provides for vision, and one of them is land. You know, like explaining to people everything we have. We keep chasing something, especially now. The pace in this world is like chase, faster, faster, more money, more time. In fact, more time in less time, you know, like trying to squeeze. But are you really living the life you would love to live? Back to normal.
I love Miles Monroe and what you just shared about change and also about the land. I just remember, and I'm not quite sure who said it, but he was asked, so where is God? Where can you find God? And his answer was, where is God not? And it's probably Neil Donald Walsh, who I heard or read it. It's, yeah, we're all coming from the one place and the one thing, and change is a constant thing. Vision has also to do with change, and this brings me to what I study right now, and it sounds very simple, yet it has so much depth that I think we could talk 10 episodes just about those 2 points. I even have it sitting right next to me on a little piece of paper. It's called a teachability index. And the teachability index says, or gives the answer, how teachable are you? Because to study, to change, it has to do with you develop away from where you currently are, from your current results. And question number 1 is, what is your willingness to learn? And the second question I just put right after it, what is your willingness to accept change? And those 2 questions to ask yourself constantly and again and again and again and again makes so much sense. Because what's your willingness to learn? What's your willingness to take a book in your hands, to first of all buy the book, to invest money, to invest time into something that is quite new to you? And how would you rate yourself right now on a scale from 0, and 0 is nothing, to 10, where you say, yeah, I'm constantly learning all day long, 24 hours. But I think that's not possible unless you just go out on a study cruise or study weekend or something. But in our regular life, you cannot take all the time for studying. So just rate yourself right now between 0 and 10. What's your willingness to learn? And even if your willingness to learn, what Vladi just said about the shelf help, you develop your shelf in the background and not yourself. Quite a great play with words. If your willingness to learn should be 10, that you say, you know, I study 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, how big is your willingness to accept change? Which means what Vladi mentioned with the shelf help. We do so many programs, we read so many books, we do so many things, but are we really applying them to ourselves? Do I have a kind of system to apply them on ourselves? I mean, Vladi wrote several books, the Bible of the Mastermind. Are you reading a quote every day? Are you studying what she said? I read the same thing over and over and over again. This one page that I read this morning, I did not flick through 20 pages and said, I want to go through fast. No. Can I understand it? Can I understand every word? And if there's a word that I don't understand, can I go to a dictionary, to Google, to ChatGPT and say, please explain me this word? Because if you don't understand it, how will you understand the whole concept? And it brings you again to the willingness to learn. Are you just taking the stuff where somebody says, read this book and life will get better? Or do you say, no, I really want to go deep into it because my willingness to change, not the ability to change. We're all able to change. How big is your willingness to change on everyday life? And the question you can ask yourself regarding that is always the same thing. Are you willing to give up the things that you really love? If you love golfing, if you love tennis, if you love going out with friends, watching Netflix, if you love your money, are you willing to give that up because you have to invest some energy into the book, which has a price, as most things? Are you willing to do that? Or do you say, no, I have to keep my money, I have to keep it where it is, but this will keep you exactly where you are right now, which is not a bad place. But as we are all about change and development and having faith that it gets better and better and bigger, how big is your willingness to learn and how big is your willingness to change? Yeah, just rate yourself and see where it leads you. Back to you, Vladi.
I love when you're talking about change, because I go back to quote we always heard from Bob, or the sentence where he said, people are not resisting the change, people resist being changed. So we go back to what I've just mentioned. Who are you? Because not only we're spiritual beings having a human experience, we're also conditioned and habitual creatures. So sometimes we would like things to be different, and yet when it comes to the point where we have to make a decision or create a change or do something new, we just go back into the same pattern, because that voice inside you, and we, at the first couple of episodes, we talked loads about voice, so I will not go into the deep. You can go back to the episode, I think 1 and 2 or maybe 0, where we really discuss this voice. But it is really the voice from, sometimes I call it conditioned voice from a past, where you really have this like, oh, but why would you do that? Because you listened to it when you were small, and that conditioning started really in a childhood. No one to blame. Let's not blame anyone, because I'm going to say that parents did the best they could with what they had, with the awareness they had, that perhaps were conditioned by their parents or the environment or the school or anything. But really the choice you have, and that's what Norma is talking about, the change is like, do I want to live in the same patterns? Because sometimes we don't realize, but when we really sit down and pay attention to, how often we get upset when our partner or somebody says to us, you just like your mother, or you just like your father, and you go like, not that we don't love them, but it's like, what do you mean? Like I'm nothing but, but yet the entire surrounding sees that, yes, you are just like your father and just like your mother. What they mean is the conditioning. It's the way they were thinking, the way they were making decisions, the way they were programmed, really. Because if we listen to the stories, and I'll give you an example, we have so much love. We don't have a lot of money, meaning a millionaires, like the way I grew up, but we have so much love. And we did, like there was like my mom came out of 11 kids, and I have 28 cousins. We were meeting every weekend at grandma's. I don't think we ever had any issues like as such, like you see some families are fighting over properties and inheritances and stuff. I never experienced it. I have the best relationship with my siblings, and the family is just amazing. So that is luck. But the program that also came with that was the judgment of rich people, because we have love, as if you couldn't have it both. So what are the stories you tell yourself? What is the part of conditioning? Is we adopted it. Now, we didn't necessarily agree to it, because remember, your subconscious mind, which functions 95% averagely in your life, is your subconscious that decides. And it does not reject anything you give it. It accepts everything, whether you like it or not. Only 5%, well, between 4 and 6, of conscious mind you have daily to make a conscious choice, meaning what Norma is talking about, that is where you have to make the change with your conscious mind. And please be prepared. Paradigms and beliefs and limitations will come at you as the royal battle, because now the body goes, whoa, are you crazy? This is not safe. The society, did you see the politics? You can't do that. The bank won't give you a loan. You can't do that. You can't study when you're 40. You can't go to university. All these programs come at you because survival mode, which is part of every single one of us, wants to keep you safe. But the success is not on the line of safety. It's always that pushing through the terror barrier of making a decision and the change only happens with you changing, making a decision, committed decision not to go back. But you must come from your desire, not because somebody else wants it, not what your partners, wife, husbands want, your kids, your parents. What is it really you would love? If you could have anything, and your genie could give you that one wish, anything within the realms of the nature, what would you ask for? And I go back to vision. Is your vision clear? Or are you just plodding along every day with the life? Like, okay, I wake up, I make myself a cup of coffee, I brush my teeth, I go to work, same routine, same stuff. Every Saturday, I take the kids to a football match or tennis match or whatever other match they have. And then we can't do this. We become such a habitual creature living a life like rat race. When you put a hamster in a wheel and they just run and run and run. Is that how you would love to live a life? But the thing is, if you don't have a clear vision, what if you entertain the vision? People, when sometimes I say, well, can you imagine this life? It's like, oh, I can't afford it. I didn't ask whether you can afford it. Can you imagine that life? Because that's the biggest key that lots of people pay coaches for, to really understand and connect to your vision. If you can connect to what you would love, and you can practice this and perform this in your mind, this movie in your mind, because your mind thinks in pictures. So what's the picture you hold in your mind of you living the life? Because you're going to bring it about. If your picture in subconscious mind is, oh, every end of the month I have to pay all these bills, and the only focus and energy goes to paying the bills and have to work hard and trading time for money, well, that's how you're going to live. Entertain in your imagination first. How would it feel? Go to the feeling. How would it feel for me to now have this dream house, to have my team? What business would I be running, or what would I be doing if finances were an issue? Like, really, really sit down, because you spending few minutes doing this is way more powerful than actually just running the rat race of doing this, doing the washing, doing the stuff. Same. Change the pattern and just test it. Do something new. Find a new way. Even the things that work for you and you do them all the time, what if you did them a different way? Like, change the left, brush your teeth with the left hand if you're always brushing them. That I sometimes do still consciously, and I'm still finding it difficult. So much easier to do things the way we do them. What if you did make that coffee in the morning and you actually had the hot water with the lemon? Just train yourself. Do it for 3 days, and then you feel like, oh, because any little changes you can make will then give you absolutely amazing time. Norman, back to you.
Yeah, it always comes back to what's your willingness to learn and what's your willingness to change. And the idea Vladi just shared about the dreams and the subconscious mind, if you have a piece of paper and you're not in the car right now, just draw a big circle on the left side of your blank paper and draw a little circle on the right side of the paper. And in the right side circle, the small one, you can put a euro sign or dollar sign or pound sign, whatever your currency is. And in the big circle on the left side, you write all your dreams and visions. So in my case, it would be Hollywood. It would be study. I love to study. I would write friends. I would write health. And you should go more into detail, because health means what? Friends means what? Money means what? Be more specific, that the universe or God knows what to deliver. Because if you say, I want to be rich, what's rich? Rich in experience, rich in corn, rich in money, rich in friendships, rich in dust, could be everything. So write down specifically in your bigger left circle what you want to have. And what usually happens, and that's what Vladi shared about the subconscious mind and the automatic program that we inherited from childhood, from church sometimes, from school, from parents, friends, surrounding. You look at your big circle of all your dreams and visions, and it feels great and it looks great and you'd love to be there. And then you look to reality, and that's the little circle with the money. And you usually say, yes, but I cannot afford that. I cannot afford the big house. I cannot afford the job. I cannot afford the study. I cannot afford the coaching that, for instance, we offer. Some say, yeah, I can afford the book, but I'm not quite sure if I'm going to read it. It comes again back to how big is your willingness to learn new things and your willingness to change. Just rate yourself all the time. That's why I have the piece of paper next to me to ask that to myself all the time. What is your willingness to learn, and what is your willingness to accept change? So the moment you're living in your dream world, in your big circle, just stay there as long and as often as you can, and apply the same questions in regards to Hollywood. What is my willingness to learn? Am I willing to learn how a pitch deck is done? Am I willing to learn how budgeting is done? Am I willing to learn how packaging is done? Even though I might not do it myself, but do I have the willingness, what we spoke in the other episode, to go to the vibration of my dream? Can I learn stuff surrounding my dream? What is my willingness to learn new things in regards to this dream that's inside my big circle? Question number 2, what's my willingness to accept change? Because version 1 is now I have the big circle and the big dreams, and I have to do it all by myself. I have to get all the dreams by myself. I need to meet all the right people. I need to get all the money. I need to make all the work by myself. But you have a strong partner at your side, and it's called universe or God. Can you just let go of your dreams? You envision it, you make it bright, you make it big, you can hear it. Go through all 5 senses if you can. Make it big. Hold it for at least 68 seconds and then let it go. Let go the detail of the dream. Never ever let go the emotion you have coming with it. If, in my case, I imagine Hollywood, I let go of the details of the dreams, because if I hold them for 68 seconds, they are manifested in the 5D world, in the realm, in whatever you want to call it up there. And then I only focus on the feeling I get while I thought about it in those 68 seconds. And the feeling I keep, like Vladi shared earlier, enjoy the way, have more fun on the way. It's about having fun on the way, and not all the time looking at the small circle and saying, but I cannot afford the house, I cannot afford this, I cannot afford that. What would you love? And let the universe, let God be the supportive side in your life, in your work, that brings you the right people and that brings you the right circumstances and opportunities, if you stay emotionally connected on the way towards the vision, towards the goal, to where you want to be.
I love it. I was doing the circles as well. Guys, just to finish off or bring it to the landing, I love what Norman said, and I really want you to do this, because as I've seen this, we have both seen this over the years in coaching. It's like people write the goal, they write it, they do all the right things, but they're not emotionally connected to it. What Norman said has a word of gold, because it is the non-resistance law, which works if you let it go. You connect to it, you feel it, you imagine it, hold it for 68 seconds, and just let it go. But you must, this is why we are called Faith Building Podcast, because we're encouraging you to have faith in you and others and the universe and God, whatever is for you. So really think about it again. Things that happen in your life with certainty, because you know it will happen. You're in the frequency of knowing, which is the highest frequency you can have. There's no worry, there's no doubt. You just know it will happen. Why? Because you have an ultimate faith in the thing, yourself, and others, and God. And it will happen. It's the things that we kind of mix with worry and doubt. And I'm a little reluctant to say fear, because I'm a huge advocate of fear and faith. We always talk about that. For centuries, many people compare fear and faith. But fear can actually be beneficial for you if it's the right kind of fear. Again, remember the law of polarity. Every single thing that exists can be good and bad. So there can be, even words. Some people relate to words, but for some people, those words are not rude. And for some people, they think that's really rude. So it's whatever it is in your world, that's how you react or respond. It's not necessarily wrong or right. It's what we made right or wrong. So because I don't like this, when other people do that, it upsets me. It's my thing, not anybody else's, and it's not the law really. It is just that I chose to believe certain things and enjoy certain things, and I created this rule almost in my entire world. And when people don't kind of come up with that kind of principles, or they don't follow that gets you upset. So that's where we can talk maybe next episode about letting go, because that's the part. It's not letting go as such, it's actually letting go of the things that really don't matter, and understanding what really is important, what isn't. So I'd like you to really practice what Norman said. Write down the things, and maybe take it even a little bit further. Norman actually started talking about it. He said, what does it mean to you? I think that's the most powerful exercise. We, in our 6 years old study we did with the Norman, we identified what money means to you. So it's not what it means for the world, and it's just the energy, it represents the value of exchange. But what does it mean to you? What does love mean to you? And even more, what picture you hold of that meaning. Because really that is what sits in your subconscious programming. And when something happens and you make a decision and you're like, why did I do that? Why did I do that? You do something because it's programmed into you. You know better, and yet you did it. Why? Because it's a program. We need to replace that program, and you can replace it by new imagination, feeling better, and bringing that new thing into your new mind, bringing a new picture into it, and then feeling it, and then it will just happen. It will just happen the same way as it's happening to you to say, why did I do it? All of a sudden you feel like, actually, all the things are working out for me perfectly. Most of the times I make great decisions. And if somebody tells you, thank you, Norman, for pointing it out, nobody does anything 100%. Don't let anyone stress you. Even Buddha didn't actually meditate for 24/7. It's just impossible. Nobody can study 24/7. Nobody can, because we are here to live this amazing life. So it's about creating and really doing things that you feel they fuel you, that you're passionate about, you find joy in, and they grow you. You know, like the growth is one of my core values. So if I don't feel growth in things, I don't necessarily want to do them, because it's just kind of, for me, it's that stagnant energy. But really, it's you evaluating what's important for you, not for others and what the world wants of you. What is it you would love, and who are you really? Think about those and really do those circles and find clarity in them. Norman, you can bring it to landing.
Wonderful. And if you really want to make it work and be close to the Buddha that meditated for sure a lot, make your life a walking, talking, sleeping, resting meditation. If you can make your life a meditation, which means you don't need to sit on a stone all day long, still can you do the things that you love from within? Can you just smile? And Vladi mentioned it in a side sentence, and I just want to put the spotlight on it again because it's so important. Do you react or respond to circumstances from the outside? Because they will always come. Willingness to change, willingness to learn. We come back to those two questions again and again. Are you reacting to the circumstances? Some meeting that you planned just got cancelled. Do you react? Oh, this is big rubbish. We planned this so long. How can this be? They don't like me. That's a reaction. But how about you would respond in the future and say, that's interesting. I look forward what the universe, what God brings me now in a much easier, healthier, more worthy, whatever kind of way. That's much better for me. Maybe it was the wrong person. Maybe it was the wrong time. Maybe I had the wrong energy at the moment and it got cancelled. I don't know. But can you respond to things that come from the outside rather than react? And this will guide and lead you into a much brighter future. And to let go and let God will be the topic of next week's episode 41. Until then, my friends, stay safe, stay visionary, and we see and hear you very soon. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.